What's up, y'all? It's Tone Space, and I'm going to give you, I don't know what I'm going to call this, all-inclusive coronavirus video or something like that. So whatever the title is, that's what I went on. But basically, I'm going to share everything that I've learned about this, what's called the novel coronavirus, or the virus that causes COVID-19. Where have you heard that before, right? But I'm going to share everything I know. I'm in no way a professional, I don't know, a germologist or anything of that caliber. I'm just someone that has a keen ability of learning and then dispensing information in a concise way that can help people out. Teacher, if you will. You know what I'm saying? So I've taken notes. A lot of other people with their videos, they'll have notes and stuff on the screen. I'm not getting that fancy. So if you want to take a second or two and grab a pen, a pencil, Evernote on your phone and take down notes, it probably might be beneficial. So, and watch it on repeat. You could always pause it, stuff like that if you miss anything. But it's going to be chock full of information that I've gathered. And I'm even have a little Twilight Zone twist at the end. It's going to be interesting. So you might want to check this out. All right, so we're going to get started. What is the coronavirus, right? We're going to go into what a coronavirus is in general. They call them coronaviruses. It's a family of viruses. There's, I believe, like 5, 6, or 7 different coronaviruses, some that you and me know very well that we've caught before, like the common cold, right? It's called coronavirus because I think that's Latin or Spanish for the word crown, because it has like a crown look, the actual physical look of the virus or whatever. And it includes things like colds. I think there's other viruses that do not spread to humans that are considered coronaviruses. Not totally sure. But, that's why they call it that. Now, what's happened in the last few weeks, the World Health Organization and or the CDC has decided to give it a fancy name called COVID-19. Or basically now, like I said, something you've probably heard before, this particular coronavirus, which is called a novel coronavirus, is the virus that causes the disease called COVID-19 that we're going to be discussing today, right? So why is it called novel? They call it novel because no one has an immunity to it. There is no what's called herd immunity to this virus. It's new to the entire public, so therefore they're calling it novel. Let's go through the origin. Now, I've been following this thing since around the middle or around anywhere from January 15th to 20th, right? And as I understand, this was originally found in the Hubei province of Wuhan, China, a very dense popular area. China has, I believe, 1.4 billion people, right? So this was found in the Hubei province. There were people going around on WeChat, which is a thing similar to what they have in other countries where people could chat out of their jurisdiction, because you may know China is highly regulated with their internet. They really got a lock. They try to shut it down and all of that stuff, right? But people were tweeting that there was a SARS-like disease that people were catching. For those that may not know, SARS is something that was also found in China around 2002, I believe 2002 or 2003, which was a respiratory illness. I forget the acronym, but basically this is a respiratory illness, or potentially can be. So was SARS. In fact, this one they're calling SARS-CoV-2 or something like that, because it is similar to SARS, and we're going to get all into that about which is more severe and everything like that, right? So basically they said, people were saying there was a SARS-like illness that people were catching around this area that was called a wet market. This is what a wet market is. It's a live animal selling place. It's a place in China where they sell live animals for whatever reason. It's sourced from like the culture of selling live exotic crazy animals. It came out of, I think, something from the 60s and or 70s, where certain places in China were in poverty and they had to like go to exotic different type of animals for their sustenance or something like that. It ended up becoming a commercialized thing, and then it became something that the rich and the wealthy do. They go purchase these animals, and they're all caged together, and they call it a wet market. Check this out. I'm not trying to diss China and their culture. But it's kind of disturbing. They call it a wet market because they have all these animals, bats and angeloids or whatever the heck, angelians, some other ish, and all these exotic, never heard of before animals. They have them all smashed together, and under their cages and on the floor is wet with blood, with pus, with guts and intestines. This is why they call it a wet market, due to that very wet, nasty stuff that these animals let out, including excrement, pee, dookie, all of that. That's why they call it a wet market, a haven for disease in and of itself. So it was, and it is still suspected that this disease came from this wet market. In particular, people are saying that it comes from a bat, or at least from a bat to another mammal to human. Because going back to the wet market, what people do at the wet markets, I don't know if they do more than this, but they eat these animals, meaning they eat bats. They eat angolins or whatever that is. They eat this, they eat that. Maybe there's other reasons for the wet market to have interesting pets or something like that, but unfortunately they also eat it. Eat this stuff, non-cypher stuff, right? Worse than swine, or as bad as swine, to be honest with you. But that's what they do. And the science of how that could create a disease, because this is also what they said happened with SARS, that also came from an animal to a human. I think it's called like a zoological transfer or something like that. And it goes like this, and it does make a lot of sense. Take bats, for instance. Bats fly. They cover a wide span of the world. So they're going everywhere. So you got bats that are flying all over the place. What are they doing? They're picking up all types of diseases, right? But, now bats are mammals. Humans are mammals. And a lot of diseases will transfer from the same type of quote unquote animal. Even though humans are kind of different than animals, we are still considered mammals. So it is speculated that someone consumed one of these animals, either a bat or from a bat to a proxy to another animal that's also a mammal into humans, right? They consumed one of these things, and from there the disease left the animal, and then now it has infected a human. And this is what they had murmurings about around, like, I believe mid-November, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, there's a new disease and stuff like that. Chinese government was trying to shut them down. They're like, yo, shut up. Don't be talking about this stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? China, #1. We can't have y'all talking that crap. You know what I'm saying? We stepped it out lovely out here. You say that we got these animals and new diseases. No, we don't rock like that. You know what I'm saying? They trying to save face and all that type of crap. So they were arresting people that were talking about this. And shout out... And I hate that I forgot his name, but as some of you may know, there was a doctor that allegedly died allegedly, and also died allegedly of this coronavirus. That was one of, if not the biggest whistleblower of this thing. And I believe he was an optometrist, an eye doctor, if I'm not mistaken. But he said that he found out about this and he tried to warn people, and he got arrested, all types of stuff. Next thing you know, he came down with the virus, and he was, I think, 32 or 33 years old and passed away. So they say, and he's considered a hero now because he tried to warn people, and he also tried to help people that were infected with this virus once, he found out what was going on. And we're going to get into who's more susceptible of dying and stuff later. Now, because you may be thinking, if he was 32 or 33, young dude that's an optometrist or something, so that means he's healthy enough to go to work. That's kind of scary, ain't it? I thought only the old people were dying from this. We'll get into all of that. But I will, leave that situation right now with saying that, and I heard a quote unquote professional say this, as I am not one, but they said it's possible that since he was bombarded with different strains of this virus from trying to help patients and people with it, that, he got a bigger load of it than the average person may get, and it took him out, All right, pardon me. Saying a mouthful here. So we're going to go on. I got my little notes. Okay, so yeah, the Chinese government was trying to shut people down from talking about it. Next thing you know, it got out of control, and now it got everywhere. It started going all over Hubei province, the rest of Wuhan, and other parts of China, and everything like that, right? Now, another thing, there is also what's called a level 4 biolaboratory that is also, I believe, in the Hubei province. I think someone said as close as 900 feet to the wet market. I don't know. Is it like you got the bio lab and then out back they set up shop with the wet market? I'm not totally sure, but there is a bio lab where, they house very infectious biological diseases, because a lot of people were saying this was a bio weapon. Now, I just want to say this. If this thing did come from a biological laboratory, that does not necessarily mean that it was put out there to be weaponized, right? It could have leaked out. And even if it leaked out, its existence in whatever vial or whatever it was may not have been for the purpose of biological warfare. As you know, people try to learn and figure out vaccines for different diseases and conditions. So in order to do that, as you may know how a vaccine works, they give you a little dose of the thing they're trying to vaccinate you from, and then you build up your immunity to it. So just because it existed, if it did in a vial form, funny, you know what I'm saying, it may not have been for a vile reason. You know what I'm saying? It may be that they were working on figuring out how to cure something or something. Or worst case scenario, it could have been weaponized and it could have been thrown out there on purpose and all of that. You know what I'm saying? Everything is speculation, but I'm just telling you everything in its most concise, best ways, just so you could be as informed as possible and not just rock with anything, right? However, I will go a little into more of this theory, right? As I understand, in Canada, there is also, I believe, a level 4 biolab, right? And I don't know, I forget the exact details. Y'all guys can look it up. But supposedly there were 2 Asian, Chinese or whatever, people that worked in the lab that got fired and allegedly leaked out some coronavirus, and then they, the theory is they went back to Wuhan, to China, and then they got let out there either accidentally or on purpose. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? We don't totally know. I'm not just going to buy that it came from a bat or an angolin into humans. I am very open to the idea that it was from a biolab. In fact, okay, it's an RNA strain. You know how we have DNA? This disease is RNA. And I've heard some people that on the internet now that claim to be experts and virologists and all that have said that this disease could not have occurred naturally. And by natural, they mean it couldn't have went from a bat or an angolin into a human. And he said that due to the makeup of it, right? He said like the makeup, the way it was made up, and I guess certain similarities or patterns of the genome of it is like there's no way that was random chance. Kind of like my argument that the Big Bang is full of crap. You know what I mean? How I will tell you, no, we were divinely created, with our Fibonacci sequence and all that type of stuff. Another video altogether. Matter of fact, I did a video a year or 2 about that, so you could look that up. But basically someone looked at it and said, nah, this couldn't have happened like that. This was obviously created. You know what I'm saying? But that was one person. It wasn't, I haven't found any information that says that was peer reviewed. And what's peer reviewing something? That's when a group of experts get together, they both look at the same information, and they come to a thesis of what it may be. You know what I'm saying? Just a shot or one off here of someone saying this, someone saying that. You can't really get anywhere, because I believe I also heard some alleged expert virologist saying that looking at the RNA and the structure of this virus, it does look like it very, very well probably did come from an animal into a human and occurred that way. You know what I'm saying? We may never know. Who knows? But y'all could look into that if y'all want to, get a better idea, for your own knowledge of what it is. Let me get back to these notes here, right? Okay. Oh, yeah, another thing I wanted to say in regard to the possibility that this was a made in a lab or something, right? No matter what, it is being blamed on the wet market, right? So if it was made in a laboratory, then for one or two reasons, They're blaming it on the wet market. They're not saying, oh, we accidentally leaked it out. Or there's no terrorist saying, oh, I dropped this Cobra Commando on the screen. Yes, I opened this vial to all of you. You know what I'm saying? They're still blaming it on the wet market. So that kind of tells me if it did come from a lab, there's something nefarious going on for them to have a scapegoat of where it did come from. There would be someone trying to avoid responsibility by that, by doing that or whatever, right? I just want to add that little thing too, but let's continue though, right? Oh yeah, this is different from the flu. It's similar to SARS, but it's also similar to the flu. Here's something else that people were saying, right? And this freaked a lot of people out. They're saying the structure, the genome of the virus, it had, what do they call it? Inserts or something in it that are similar to what's in the structure of HIV. Like that has been confirmed. There was the Middle Eastern respiratory syndrome that killed, I think, about 30% of people that got infected. They said that this thing's genome has similarities to that. And they're saying it also has similarities to SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome. That's what SARS stands for, which is all true, from at least to the best of my knowledge. However, if you look into it, you'll also find that it has structure similarities to a whole bunch of other stuff, to something that affects other animals, to this, to that, to the common cold. You know what I'm saying? So basically, it's a numbers game. There's several different things that this virus structurally looks like. So when you find out that it has a structure similar to HIV, MERS, or SARS, it may not be something to freak out about because it's similar to a whole lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I want to go there. Let's go. Okay. Now what does this thing do to you when you catch it? When it gets bad, it infects your lungs. It infects the lower respiratory part of your lungs. You know what I'm saying? To the point where you need to be hospitalized. On the mild side, which they're saying is approximately 80% will get mild symptoms, if any symptoms at all. I believe they're saying 20% will get no symptoms, 80% will get symptoms, but not the severe kind, right? Meaning they may get a mild fever or, similar symptoms to when you get a regular flu. It gives a dry cough, but when when it gets bad, it's basically mainly affects your lungs. And then when your body is trying to fight it off, like all your body's protection cells are going to fight this crap off, right? But then another potential thing is it can damage other organs, liver, kidneys. In men, it is speculated that it could damage the testes as well. As like a side effect, and also on the worst case, you could get pneumonia and it could kill somebody. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get into the who's in that range of likelihood of dying from it and all that. You know what I'm saying? But that's pretty much what it does. Now, let me get this. All right, you see that on the screen, right? This is what they say are the current coronavirus cases. 114,422 with 4,027 deaths. Now, it's highly speculated that the numbers that have been coming out of China are not the actual real numbers, meaning the numbers of people that have recovered in China. As you can see, it says 64,081, and the number of people that died, as well as the total number of people that were infected. We're going to go to another map real quick, right? This is the world map. You could find this, just look up little keywords that are written here if you want to see this and check it out yourself. Mainland China, where this originated from. The vast majority of the cases are in mainland China. And why is this one not showing? All right, hold on. I'm trying to get some other stats. All right, this one might be a little older, but it might show the stats we're looking for. Let's go. Mainland China. Come on. Bear with me, people. Boy. When things mess up on you, I tell you. Come on. All right. Trying to get this thing together. Oh, boy. This thing is just all over the place. You know what? We might just have to go here for me to show you what I want to show you, right? Mainland China. Okay, China. As you can see right here, let me make sure y'all see that. Yes, y'all do. Near the top of the screen, China, right? They're saying they have a total of 80,754 cases. Total deaths, 3,136. Recovered, 59,905. Those are the numbers we want to look at. Now, I'm going to give y'all a sensible idea of why I believe, and many people believe, that the amount of cases coming out of China is way lower than they're saying. And I believe even the death rate is or the amount of deaths anyway, is way lower than what they're saying. The proportion may very well still be the same, or may not be. You know what I'm saying? It may, be more deaths per recovered, than they're even reporting. We'll get into the, the stuff about that. But I'm gonna tell you, there was there's this $1 billion company called Tencent. I believe they're a technology company, right? $1 billion company named Tencent. Kind of ironic, like Scrooge's Lucky Dime. You know what I'm saying? But on 3 different occasions, because they had their tracker in China of what the stats were. I think around the time it may have been, I don't know, the total cases, we'll just say, I forget, it was like about mid-February or early February. Let's say the total cases were said to be 8,000, right? And the recovered were said to be 3,000. I'm just throwing out numbers, right? And the deaths were said to be 500, something like that, right? Now, Tencent was reporting something that looked like that, that type of thing that is a similar ratio to what we're looking at in China. But then funny thing is, on 3 different occasions, they showed different numbers. Now, you could look it up. Look up Tencent coronavirus numbers, real numbers, or leaks or something like that. You may see an image or something of it, right? It said something like, all right, so let's say they said they had 4,000 cases. It said something like 40,000 cases. And for the deaths, now I remember what they said the deaths were. I forget the number that was official around mid-February or whenever this was, but I do remember seeing the deaths were said to be 24,000 as far as around the time that this either leaked or was looking like this. It could all be a hoax, you know what I'm saying? Someone could have hacked the thing and put out bogus numbers or whatever, or it could have been them leaking the real numbers. At the time, the deaths were around 24,000. I think the people that were said to have recovered were in the 4 digits, the official numbers, right? But I forget what it was that the Tencent image showed, but it showed the recovered were a digit off, meaning they were in the hundreds. You follow me? So, and they leaked these numbers 3 separate times, right? Now here's something. If you want to like track and figure out how things will exponentially grow, what if they leaked these numbers 3 different times? Now, I didn't see all 3 of these leaks to know if the numbers were different each of the 3 times, but let's say each of the 3 leaks that showed the real numbers, let's say they showed different numbers as they increased each time within those 3 leaks. So why would they leak it 3 times? What would that do? That would give somebody that's crafty a chance to peep the pattern of growth. Real numbers one day. Okay, oh wow, that's crazy. Day 2, the latest of the real numbers. Day 3, we're going to leak out the latest of the real numbers. So now you have 3 examples where you yourself could predict the numbers that are going to be day 4 and onward. You follow what I'm saying? Mathematically and all that, by doing ratios and proportions and all that type of stuff. It's possible. I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm not saying the 10-cent leaks were real. I'm saying that is something interesting that happened. But I'm going to tell you something common sense of why I don't believe that China's numbers are real, especially the death numbers, right? Let's look at it right now. It says their death number, they're up to about 3,136 people died, right? Allegedly. Now, if this thing was rocking since, mid-November? We got December, January, February. We've got about nearly 4 months and a little over 3,000 deaths. Now, my thing is like this, and a lot of people who ride with this argument, they say the flu and flu season, it kills thousands of people. Well, how long is a season? Wouldn't a season be approximately 4 months, if not less? Now, they say in the U.S., the flu knocks out anywhere between, I think 18,000 and 36,000 people every flu season, right? So let's say a season is about 4 months. Well, 4,000 deaths in China compared to their flu season, which may have taken out probably even more than in the US since they have 1.4 billion people in a population. I don't think they would be going under quarantine, fusing people into their cribs so they can't leave. What else have we seen them do in China? Finding people and sticking them in a little box. Not to mention all the body bags and the leaked videos that you may have seen that was going on in China and all that. They wouldn't be going this crazy, I don't personally think, over about 3,000 deaths. If the flu kills about 10 times that many people. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't go crazy over the flu like that. You feel me? So that's my common sense reason alone of why I don't believe that the China's reported numbers are real. Now, the ratio may be real, the proportion may be real, I don't know. But like I said, during that 10-cent alleged leak, the amount of people that recovered, China had put, like, I think, another zero on it, where the 10-cent thing took off a zero. And the deaths, China added another zero. No. China took off a zero where the 10-cent leak had it in the 24,000s. That's right. It was 24,000 around that time. I think China's numbers of deaths were about 2,400, if not less, or whatever, right? So it's something to think about. Let me go back to these notes here, right? Ooh, I'm sweating and shit already. It ain't, it's just me running my mouth. Okay. So let me get some water. Get back to these notes so I can see where I was at, right? Okay, what are the facts? So that's why I think that the China numbers aren't really right? So I personally think if we want to see or get an idea of what the real proportion of serious to mild is with this thing, we have to look at the places outside of China. For one, South Korea seems to be reporting things pretty good. Iran, now the deaths versus the infected and the serious, they don't even show you the serious critical, but Iran has been suspected to undercut the amount of deaths as well. There's been videos with body bags and stuff there too. So Iran, I wouldn't necessarily trust their numbers like that. South Korea seems official, and all y'all in the US of A, not to say that we're always going to get the real as well, you know what I'm saying, but when it's closer to home, you have a more on hand word of mouth thing going on with people, actual real people, that could tell you the real a lot more, right? So let me run through this, all right? Okay, so what are the symptoms of this virus? 90% of people that get symptoms get a fever. Temperature goes up, they get a fever. I don't know if it's 90%, I think 70-80% also get a dry cough. And then those where it gets more severe, as I understand, usually after like a week or something like that, that's when the shortness of breath and all that type of stuff comes. And even on the mild side, some people may get a little bit of a shortness of breath, but not too much. Now, the average time to show symptoms is, I believe, between 5 to 7 days. It could be as early as 1 day, I think, after you're exposed to this virus and it gets in you. And it could be as late as 2 weeks or 14 days. However, as I understand, there is at least one rare case where it took someone 27 days to show symptoms. Maybe even more people it took that long. But anywhere from a day to 14 days is the general range of time that it takes for people to show symptoms if they do have this. Now, the thing is, it can be spread even when you're not showing symptoms. That's the messed up thing. It could be transmitted asymptomatically. I believe they say after 1 day of being infected is as soon as you can be infective to other people. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so Now, yeah, people also talking about case fatality rates and everything. CDC, I think, is saying that it's killing approximately 3.4% of people. It may even be lower. Now, that rate is going to be based on how good your hospitals are, how good your country is, how good people are of detecting cases. It's a whole lot of factors, right? But here's the interesting thing. A lot of people are taking the death rate. They're just taking let me see if I can show you. All right, they're taking this, go up top, right? They're taking the coronavirus cases that are currently going on, 114,422, or, you know what I'm saying? They're taking that number, and they're taking the deaths, 4,027, and they're doing the math and coming up with a percentage right there. But you can't do that, because of those 114,422, which, as we know, is probably a whole lot more considering how China get down, but of that amount, you don't know what's going to happen with those people. So you can't take the people that have most recently died and say, oh, this is the death rate. No, because a lot of those people may be severely under something, are going to die, unfortunately, of that over 100,000 people of the active cases. Some of them are also going to die. So you can't really calculate the rate until after the situation is over, until no one has it anymore and you look back. You know what I'm saying? You say, oh, well, there's how many people had it, there's how many people died. That was the mortality rate. But even then, I don't think people will be able to get as accurate a number because, as I said, a lot of people show mild symptoms, and even some don't show any symptoms that have this. And those people you'll never know because they weren't tested for this thing. You follow what I'm saying? So it's a real tricky thing in my personal opinion, but we work with the information at hand with what we can. Now this right here is something that I would go by, right? The thing on the left, not necessarily the thing on the right. All right, well, yeah, even the thing on the right. Look, closed cases, 94%, deaths, 6%. That is more accurate in my opinion than just looking at how many people currently infected when you don't know what's going to happen with those people. And also you want to look at this. 88% have a mild condition. Serious or critical is about 12%. You know what I'm saying? And then even the people that AKA recover, as I said, for those that this thing severely messes up, like if they messes up their organs and stuff, and if they get discharged because they live, they may die a little later. Or even if they don't die, their organs is all messed up. You know what I'm saying? So, there's death, but then there's also permanent damage you got to think about. You know what I'm saying? However, mild conditions, 88%. Hopefully that is true, and we're going to get into who is more susceptible to the mild conditions and the worse and stuff like that, right? Okay. But yeah, compare that to the flu, because people were saying, oh, the flu kills more people. I think the flu fatality rate is approximately 0.2% compared to what the CDC, I think, is saying 3.4%. You know what I'm saying? So sure, 18,000 to 36,000 people in the United States may die yearly from the flu, but this thing kind of just came to town, so we don't really know what it's gonna do. You know what I'm saying? So who is at risk of, who's at risk of catching this virus is any and everybody, allegedly. We're going to have a Twilight Zone twist at the end. But anyone allegedly could catch it. But who is at risk of, getting a fatality or having, severe symptoms, hospitalization and such? It is the elderly, those like 70 and over. It could get really bad for them. You know what I'm saying? Those with pre-existing conditions such as diabetes, pulmonary diseases, respiratory diseases and illnesses, and I believe a couple other things there. Those with pre-existing ongoing conditions, whether young or old, but especially elderly people with these conditions. And there are a lot of elderly people that do have conditions, you know what I'm saying? So those are at most risk, right? Also smokers, people that smoke, be you young or old, because what the virus attaches onto is something that's called, again, I'm not a doctor, it's just what I learned from looking into this. It attaches onto something that we have called ACE2, whatever that is in our lungs. People who smoke, they got their ace twos waving to the virus. Come on in. Hey, what's going on? Da, 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 da. The joints ain't chilling or nothing. Them joints is like, yo, what's good? And the coronavirus hits that crown like tentacle and jumps on them ace two to all those people that are smoking. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, smokers are at risk. Children from like let's say 18 years and younger are actually spared, as I understand. They don't get much infections. They don't get many symptoms, if anything, hardly hospitalized. It's not affecting children, unlike the flu, where the people that are most vulnerable from the flu are the very old and the very young. It's the people in the middle that are best prepared. This thing is like the risks kind of like go in an incline. The very young are cool, you know what I'm saying? People in their 20s, risk starts getting a little more, but still pretty good for the most part. 30s, it gets a little more. 40s, it gets a little more. 50s, 60s, 70s, it starts increasing. 80s, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Now, how infectious is this? There is something that's called the R0, and the R0 is the gauge of infection. It's when you look at an R0, it's the letter R next to a 0. Or if an R0 of something is 0, basically it's the letter R next to a number. If the number next to it is 3, that's an R0 of 3. If the number is 5, it's an R0 of 5. What is an R0? An R0 is how many people one infected person on average will infect. So the flu, for example, I think the flu has an R0 of 1, maybe 2. So that means if someone has the flu and there's 5 people somewhere, on average, that one person with the flu will infect one person if the R0 is 1. If the R0 is 2, then that one person with the flu will infect 2 people. This thing here, the R0, it's still speculative what it is. I believe it's alleged to be at least an R0 of 3, meaning if one person has this and there's a bunch of people around, if on average they're going to infect 3 people. Each of those 3 will on average infect 3 people. Some say it's an R0 of 7 rather. There was a lady in China who allegedly was trying to leak out some information. She said one person could infect 14 people. So she said the R0's 14 basically. I don't know if it's that much or whatever, but it's very infectious. It's more infectious than even catching a regular flu. So all the precautions you want to take to not catch a flu, you definitely want to take to not catch this, because this is even more infectious. Exactly how much more, we don't know, but I think it's believed to at least be an R0 of 3, maybe even 4. You know what I'm saying? But it might be as much as 7 or more. Okay. And to get a pandemic or diseases like this under control, they say what you want to do is you want to get the R0 less than 0. Or less than 1 rather. 0 meaning one person has something, they ain't gonna infect anybody. That's when the infection spread ends. You know what I'm saying? So that's the goal, is to get the R0 to 0. Because yes, the R0 is, I believe they call it static. The R0 can change. You know what I'm saying? With preventive measures and cleanliness and everything like that. The R0 is very socially dependent, basically. You know what I'm saying? Now, I personally believe there is a travel risk with this, like airports. There's been a lot of cases of people allegedly catching this. Baggage claim people at LAX or New York, here, there. You get on a plane, you're in a cramped environment with something with a high R0, and you're more exposed to the thing. And also remember, it can infect people asymptomatically, meaning when you're not showing symptoms. Someone catches this, a day later, that person is an infection spreader. Even the children, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, even if they won't show symptoms, I think they still can catch this. It just doesn't harm them like that. So what does that mean? That means those children can still spread this to more vulnerable people. Now, as of today, someone said that as you recover, it's believed that the infectability then goes down. Right, so that's good. Well, let me get to this one first. So how can you get this from people? You know what I'm saying? Definitely from a cough. If someone coughs near you, because this is what's called aerosolized, meaning it's small enough that it could kind of travel and linger in the air, which is not so good. You know what I'm saying? It's both droplets that are little droplets. Like if someone coughs, you see a little spit come out and it touches someone, they could catch it, but it also could kind of linger in the air a little something. So it's aerosolized. So if someone coughs, sneezes, meaning shoot, they might cough and they might walk by, you walk into that area where that cough is still kind of lingering, you know, someone could catch it that way. Sneezing, of course, you know, like Seinfeld said, them close talkers, people that's all up in you running their mouth. Now, this is important because, and this is messed up, like CDC and all these people, governors and all that are saying that this thing doesn't last on surfaces. Like if someone sneezes on a metal object or a wood or a fabric object, they're saying that it'll only be infectious for 2 hours. That is not correct. This thing has been known to stay on surfaces up to 9 days, meaning someone sneezes on their hand, they touch a door handle, the germs is on that door handle of a public restaurant. 8 days later, if that door isn't cleaned, between that whole 8 days, people touching that door handle have been exposed to it because the stuff stays there. You know what I'm saying? It could stay on surfaces up to 9 days. Yeah, there's been cases of this thing being spread in cab rides. Like a woman came to New York from Iran, took a cab from the airport. The cab driver got it. Now, it ain't like they really up close to each other. She in the back probably, he in the front. Might have had a little bit of chit-chat, but he's looking forward. She's in the back, kind of looking forward. They're not even face-to-face really like that. And he still caught it. The thing is very infectious. It can also be spread through feces, fecal matter. You know, little... You know, you smell somebody dookie. I don't know if that means if somebody farts, if you smelt it, you've been dealt it or something like that. I'm not sure if it's that bad, but theoretically, I think it probably can be. But like, let's say you take a dump in your toilet and someone walks in right after with all the fecal matter and fecal mist going on. You get a whiff of that, you might get a whiff of that. You know what I'm saying? And this is what they were saying with SARS, and it may be a little bit extreme, but I think people should take precautions. Like if you live in a building where you share ventilation, like in the bathroom and stuff like that. So for example, you got your vent in the bathroom, you flush the toilet, you drop a deuce, whatever, the mist goes through the vents, and then it goes into another apartment, someone else goes in their bathroom, they get a whiff of that, and now they got that. Allegedly that happened with the SARS outbreak. So I would advise people, maybe a little extra, close up your vents. If you got that little switch, turn your vent off, put some cardboard or something, whatever you can that could kind of close your vents. I got it in the bathroom and the kitchen. I got the vents on shutdown. Matter of fact, I got to put something else on it or whatever. But it does that. It infects orifices. It infects the mouth. So get up on your mouth, it could get in your nose, your nostrils, also the eyes, because it could go through mucous membranes, right? So basically that's why people were talking about masks. Now, there's also some other misinformation. People are saying, oh, masks aren't going to protect you from it. Let me give you the details of it. There are two specific kind of masks. There's the surgical mask, general surgical mask that a surgeon may use doing his 1-2 thing. They're saying that won't necessarily protect from someone from catching the thing, but if someone has this or thinks they have this, it can help that person to not give it to another person. As I understand, it's Chinese culture. That's why you may see Asians, Chinese people rocking masks, because I understand it's their culture. Like if they're sick with a flu or something, they rock the mask so they don't give it to other people. You know what I'm saying? It's their courtesy they do. So on that level, masks are very good. But then there's another tier of masks that you can get that can protect you from catching it. They're called the N95 masks. At least N95. You get N99, 96, 7, 8, 9. You know what I'm saying? It's whatever that stuff means. It's something with a certain filter on it that is more of a layered protection. So at least an N95 mask can potentially protect you from, catching the thing, as well as, putting the goggles on. They got the good thing to cover your whole eye situation. This is what I got myself as far as masks. This is called a P100 mask with a P100 filter. It got a filter here. These are replaceable. It's reusable. Rock like this and, you're good money. That's also good. So anything from an N95 to a P100 filter and stuff like that. I'm probably going to leave some links to other channels where I've been hearing about all this stuff, including where to get the best mask from and everything. Basically, all the information I'm dispensing, I'm going to drop my sources, right? Another thing I heard, this is also, I guess, from the CDC. They're talking about when you rock your mask, you want to have your hair cut. That's why I cut my hair like this. Because if you got the woolly beard and everything, there'll be like vents that are open. That, you know what I'm saying? So you want to have a short little goatee like this, hardly any beard, you know, butt face if anything. A little mustache is cool. But a lot of hair, it ain't going to rock right because, you know, it's going to be like open area in you where, you know, the stuff could get to you or whatever, right? And drink a little water. Sweating and stuff. Okay, where we at? Okay, so what prevents it? That prevents it. Obviously, isolating yourself from people will decrease your risk of catching something. Washing your hands, soap and water. Wash your hands for at least 20 seconds. You know what I'm saying? Wash your ass too, just in general. You know what I'm saying? Rinse off good stuff like that. I carry some of that right here, the hand sanitizer, and I'll also carry not necessarily this, the official Lysol, but I got the bootleg dollar store version, which is spray disinfectant, right? Now let me tell you the deal with the sanitizer and I believe the spray disinfectant. Some people even saying the hand sanitizer doesn't work. That is false. The hand sanitizer is great because you're going to be outside. You might not be able to wash your hands like that. Basically, alcohol. That's what the hand sanitizer's main ingredient is, but it's 70% alcohol. You can't have like 9. This is like the perfect combination. 70% alcohol, 30% whatever other ingredients, aloe vera or whatever it is. The thing is, because if your alcohol is too strong, 80, 90, 100%, it's not going to work because it'll evaporate. The higher the percentage is, the quicker it evaporates before it has a chance to do you any good. If the alcohol content is too low, like 50 and 40, it's not strong enough to kill the germs. The magic number is 70%, or I believe 62 to 70%. Now, this spray disinfectant I found out that this is 60% alcohol. I'm hoping that's good enough. I'm not sure, but I doubled down and make sure I got the hand sanitizer, which is 70%. What is it? Ethyl alcohol, which is what you need. And yeah, so you touch something, hit the hand sanitizer up. Keep it with you when you out and about. You know what I'm saying? Rock off all day. When you get home, before you touch anything really like that, wash your hands before anything else. I OD and I rock the rubber gloves. You know what I'm saying? It just is what it is. And I touch things with that and still hit the sanitizer, you know, just doing the best I can. But, you know, you want to do the best you can to protect yourself. That's all, right? Also, you want to keep distance from people talking up on you. Even this, right? Like, let's say, because remember how I said this thing is aerosolized, so it could linger in the air. Let's say someone gets off an elevator. You get on the elevator. Ain't nobody else in the elevator. Small little confined space. But before dude got off the elevator, he was coughing. Didn't cover his mouth. So now you're in an elevator where you still got that mist or that BS in the air. You know what I'm saying? I go in the elevator. I kind of spray the area. If I got my mask, throw the mask on real quick. You know what I'm saying? Take a couple precautions. Because basically anything like, just use common sense. It may be OD. I probably am ODing, and I sure hope I am ODing. But whatever common sense works for you, knowing all the details and the information, that's what you want to take. So my common sense tells me elevator, real closed, box closed, confined area. Yeah, if somebody cough, that stuff is probably still out there. So I'm going to do what I got to do. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's that. Okay, now here's another one. I haven't heard anyone speak on it, but it just makes a lot of sense to me. And I spoke about this in a video, you know, when I first was talking about this, right? Exhaled cigarette smoke. Now, I would just logically, I would think if someone has this, all right, they're not sneezing, they're not coughing, but if they're inhaling cigarette smoke and they exhale it, that's something that's coming straight from their mouth. That's out. Now, normally, none of us really like to breathe in another another person's cigarette smoke, especially if you don't smoke and you're not used to that smell. We don't like that in general. So, but we never really think of it as a big deal or a super big health concern unless you're up, living with someone and you're doing secondhand smoke all the time. You know what I'm saying? Usually we don't think about that. But in light of this situation, it's got me thinking about it now. So I personally, advise to, you see somebody smoking and breathing it out, move the other way or protect yourself any way you can so you're not breathing that person's exhaled cigarette smoke. I don't know totally if that's an issue. It just kind of makes common sense to me that it may be. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Now, I did want to say, what has happened in like Wuhan, China and everything, you may be familiar that in Wuhan, they built 2 hospitals real quick with thousands of beds. They say the United States has a great healthcare system and the best in the world and all that type of stuff. But then you come to find out, I forget the numbers. It was only like I think a 5-figure thousands amount of hospital beds available. Like, let's say 60,000, 50,000, something like that of extra beds that's available. Now, people are suspecting this may infect up to 80% of the population. So let's say that happens. We have, 300 million people in the United States? So if 15 to 20% of those people need hospital care, that's going to be way more than the available beds. And then what's worse are the ventilators, like the respiratory machines and stuff for the people that really need it to get the respiratory problems, like severe and all that. They say there's even less of those, like maybe in the 1,000, 6,000 or something. I forget the exact amount of numbers, but we're short on that. So what is concerning and alarming is that, we may get as great a healthcare system as we're known to have. Our resources may get overrun over here. And it's the same thing in the United Kingdom and other places. Like, we're, as I'm understanding, ill prepared for the potential of what this outbreak may very well possibly be as far as people that's going to, need that care, right? So, oh yeah, there's another thing I wanted to cover real quick, right? In regard to the virus mutating and stuff like that, it's been confirmed that there are at least 2 different strains of this right now, the L strain and the S strain. Now, early on in the thing or whatever, the L strain was the one that was spreading around, right? There we go. Oh, I just messed it up. It was the L strain in the early start of this. Now, the L strain they're saying is more severe, meaning it could be more deadly. It's just worse, right, than the S strain. However, the somewhat better news is people are also saying that since then, the S strain is the one that's kind of been making its ways all across the world. Like, the S strain has been spreading more, and the S is a less severe strain. And I bring up these 2 strains, and this map isn't working for me, but I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about why these 2 strains are concerning to me, right? We're gonna look at Italy, right? Italy, they say they have 463 deaths, approximately 9,000 people total cases, right? 463 deaths. That's a huge percentage per total cases. Iran as well. 7,000 approximate cases, 237. Let's take Italy in the serious or critical, 733 people serious or critical. Iran's not showing their serious or critical number. And again, Iran has been suspect to have a whole lot more deaths than what they're saying, right? But then you look at South Korea, who's been doing a whole lot of testing. They're probably the model to look at as far as how they're doing this. So if you want to see how to handle this in the best way possible, look at South Korea. But look at their total cases. In between the Iran and Italy, around 7,500, right? 54 deaths. Recovered, 247, right? Even though Italy has a whole bunch on their recovered list, as well. But basically, Italy is looking like it's a lot more deadly. Iran is looking like it's more deadly. So those 2 strains kind of come into play. I'm wondering, do they have the L strain? Does South Korea have the S strain? You got other places. France, couple deaths here and there. U.S., we're racking up on deaths. As of this video, we're in like the 27 deaths or whatever. I think 19 of these were said to be from an elderly home. So it was a lot of old people that this virus kind of got to, and it killed a lot of people. So a lot of the deaths are from there. But we're going to get more into the United States and the numbers in a second, because there is something interesting I want to say about that, right? I'm going to try to like run down this quicker because I see how long this thing is going, right? All right, so I covered the thing about the two strains, S strain, L strain. S strain said to be making its waves around the world, L strain being more deadly. Let's see. Pardon me, y'all. Okay, sneezing, cephalize. All right. Pardon me. I'm just looking for my notes. Distance for people. Okay, United States. Oh, yeah. Perfect timing, right? Now, let me tell you this, right? When I first heard about this around mid-January, and I saw what was going on in Wuhan, China, saw the leaked videos and ladies saying, 90,000 people are infected early on this thing, and it could infect 14 people, and there's way more deaths. You saw people falling out in the street and all types of stuff. I was concerned. I was like, yeah, because there's an interesting thing, right? Which also may lend to some of these conspiracies, because I think the biggest event in Chinese culture, or it's either the biggest or the second biggest event, is the Chinese New Year, which happened, I believe, sometime around the end of December or early January, right when this thing happened to have been released one way or another into the public in China during their biggest congregation. So this virus happened to come out in the largest condensed place in the world that has 1.4 billion people, and it happened to drop right during potentially their largest festival, the New Year's, where everyone's going to get together and chill and do all that stuff, right? And it happened to drop right during flu season, where it'll have similar symptoms to a flu, but might be able to hide in the crowd even though it's not the flu, right? So those are some interesting coincidences, if they are, right? But the point I'm saying is, yeah, what the fuck is it? What is the point I'm saying? Pardon me, I'll get to it in a minute. Oh, yeah. All right, so when this thing first dropped, it was said that between January 18th and January 23rd, which was after the Chinese New Year's, after this thing kind of was all hitting the public and infecting a lot of people, allegedly 90,000 people at this point, they said that approximately 5 million people flew out from Wuhan, China, all across the world between January 18th and January 23rd. Since then, China shut down, or at least so they said, and then they started shutting their borders, not letting people fly out. But between that 5-day period, they said 5 million people flew around the world. So that's when I started to get alarmed about it. Looking at this thing, I'm like, oh, word? Well, I'm in New York. We're in probably the hub of the entire world as far as a network place where people will come. 5 million people flew out of China, or out of Wuhan, the epicenter where this thing came from. Oh, this thing's about to go all over the world, right? So I started, getting a little bit concerned. So I said, you know what? If this thing has an average incubation period of 14, or on the high end, 14 days, an average incubation of 5 days, then you know what I'm going to do? I said, I'm going to fall back until like February 4th. That was the date I made for myself. I said, if by February 4th, I don't start seeing a whole bunch of cases popping up in the U.S. and other places for that matter, then, we'll probably be all right. You know what I'm saying? Because February 4th, from the 23rd to February 4th, that was approximately 2 weeks after. So if that thing did hit other places around the world, it's a good amount of time for the United States to see cases popping up. And sure enough, a couple of cases did pop up. I believe the first was in Washington State, but it was a very small number, and it stayed a very small number, right? But let me show you guys something, right? So after February 4th, I kind of breathed a little easier. I was like, oh, well, this thing, what you want? This thing ain't really doing anything like that, right? But check this out. This is what I learned. I'm going to show you how crazy this is and why numbers are popping up now, and they were not before. All right. Now, as of March 2nd, the CDC stopped showing people how many people or in the countries that they perform tests on, right? But look at the United States. As of March 1st, there was only 472 tests done in the entire country. So around February 4th or whatever, it was probably maybe like 100 or 200 at that. Basically some out of sight, out of mind stuff. Like, yeah, we're not going to see cases because they weren't testing anybody. I think there was a problem with the kids or some other stuff. Look at this and look at other countries. That's why I said South Korea is the model. 109,591 tests performed. Tests per million people, 2,138. Look at the United States, bottom of the list. 472 total tests done. Tests per million, 1. Probably a fraction of 1 per million. So, of course, we weren't seeing cases by February 4th. But then what happened? Now they're starting to get their tests better, and they're trying to get more tests and fix the tests so people in the United States can test rigorously and everything like that. So now we're going to see the numbers. You know what I'm saying? So that's the reason we didn't see, a huge outbreak until just now, because they're just starting to test for this thing. So get back to the notes real quick. Oh boy. Under the 10-cent lease, measures they take. Pardon me, I might have to skip around a little bit because I don't want to make this thing super, super long. And my apologies for making this so long. I didn't know it would be this long, but I hope this info is, helping y'all, whatever, for whoever watches this. Share it and everything if you think it is valuable. So yeah, share it, and definitely look at the people whose links I'm going to put in the description of this, so, you can follow and, get informed from those people as well, right? Okay, so the United States wasn't even testing like that, so that's why we're starting to see numbers now, because we're now starting to test. New York, for example, we have confirmed about 105, 110 something in the New York region, in the state anyway. To be honest with you, it's probably 100,000. Again, it's a possibility that 80%, 85 or whatever percent have mild symptoms. So a lot of people might have this and might not know they have it because they're not showing symptoms. If only a small fraction of people show symptoms that's worth hospitalization, you know what I'm saying? Because the people that go to the hospital, they're going to test to see if they have other strains of the flu. When they don't see that, they're going to test to see if they have this. And if it's positive, then boom, you count that as a person that has this. But for the people that get a mild fever or everything, and it's not really that bad, they're breathing okay and everything, got a cold, fever, cough, but don't have to go to the hospital, which they say maybe approximately 80% of people, you're not going to know. So those are going to be people that can have it, but the symptoms are so mild that we don't know. However, they're still infectious. They can still infect people. You know what I'm saying? So if you have a cold, a fever, or anything like that, shoot, wear a little mask. Do something, because you might be next to an old person, an elderly person, someone's grandmother, and you'll be straight, but you might give something to them accidentally. You know what I'm saying? So okay, we're going to talk about this real quick. It's just what I've been reading. It's not confirmed to be 100% true, but a lot of people are concerned about if someone gets reinfected. Now, normally with a disease, you catch something or a flu or something, you catch it, then you're immune to it. It comes back again, you won't catch it, right? Well, on one hand, there's at least 2 strains, L strain, S strain. So you might catch the S strain, recover, catch the L strain. I don't even know. I think even with this, they're saying even the same strain you can catch again. But what some people are theorizing is that if you catch it again, it could be more deadly than when you caught it the first time. And it has something to do with how your antibodies fought it off the first time. And I believe the term that they used is if you catch it again, you kind of go into shock. It's called something called like a cytokine effect or something like that. I don't know the medical details, but it could shock your body. And some people say it could even cause a heart attack because it's like a shock to the nervous system at that point from catching it a second time. So that hasn't been confirmed. It might even be you catch it once, your antibodies build up and you won't catch the strain again. It's not confirmed, but there were studies that were talking about secondary infection and people catching it again and, potentially it being very bad for them. So that's just something to think about. But let's talk about health actions that you could do to protect yourself. Vitamin D, maybe even vitamin D3, but at least vitamin D is very good for your respiratory system. It's not known if it specifically helps against this, but since it's good for your respiratory system in general, it's reasonable to think that it would be good for you. One thing that we know is great for our immunity system is vitamin C. So vitamin D, vitamin C, vitamin B12 is also good. Orange juice, eating good, as well as I recommend exercise to keep your cardiovascular up. You know what I'm saying? I jog today. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to jog as much as I can. Boom, bap, bip. Keep everything tip top. You know what I'm saying? You take care of your body, and your body will be able to fight off all types of crap. As I said before, smoking puts people at more risk. So if you smoke, try your best to quit. You know what I'm saying? That includes vaping, regular cigarettes. I don't know about weed. If you can help yourself, I would say fall back from that or bake some brownies or something. My personal advice. Now, as far as protective things that you can have, you already know the hand sanitizer is 70-30% ethanol alcohol to whatever else. The spray disinfectant. We talked about the masks. P100 filter with replaceable filters, or N95 mask, or shit, if all you got is a surgical mask, I wouldn't say that means, I think anything is better than nothing. So if you got a surgical mask and you think something crazy, throw your surgical mask on. But at the very least, if you think or know you are infected with that, it's good to at least rock a surgical mask, or even better, to help you infecting other people. You know what I'm saying? Rubber gloves if you want to get a little more OD with it. Potentially good news. People are saying that this may lessen in warmer climates as the summer comes. It may get less, or it may may not totally go away, but it might become manageable when the summer hits and the hot weather hits. If you look at places like Africa, you don't see that many cases. India, hot climate places. However, I don't know, is someone can help me out if Iran is a warm climate, very hot climate area? Because if it is, then I don't know if the hot climate has anything to do with it, because they got this thing like crazy. But some people are, experts are starting to say that as the hot weather comes, it may help reduce this thing that's out here, right? The economy, some of y'all may know the stock market is going crazy, bubbling, crashing, all of that. China is a supplier to the world. At least 60% of goods around the world, and especially in the U.S., come out of China. Their production came to a screeching halt because of this. So the whole economy's crazy. The whole fear of catching this got people bugging and got people not feeling confident about investing in certain companies, restaurants going down. So the economy's going to the tank. India, even though India doesn't have that many reported cases, it is said that they are not supplying or exporting medicine anymore, as well as China. A lot of medicine comes from China, so you want to stock up on your Tylenols and over-the-counter medicines as much as you can now, because the production of it may go down or may cease or may greatly lessen for a while, as well as with India, where medicine is made as well. They're saying, look, we're keeping our medicine to help our own. So it is what it is. So they're not exporting medicine. So, that might mean everything. What's that stuff called? Antibodies and all the antibiotics and all that. That may come to a screeching halt. Boy. Where you at? Now, what's been going on in a lot of places where they suspect there's what's called community spread. Community spread of this virus means that the virus is spreading from a community that it already kind of landed in. So, for example, someone comes back from Italy to California and it's found they got this virus. That's not a community spread because they caught the virus from one of the spots where the thing is running rampant in, right? Now, that person that came from Italy infects another person in California, right? And then that person in California infects another person, and they test that other person that got it from the other California person, and they find out, oh, this person wasn't linked to any overseas travel, so he got it from the community, thus a community spread. Now, what's happening across our country in the United States is we're getting quarantines and lockdowns. I don't know if they've done the mandatory quarantines yet, but, they're telling people you got to stay in your crib within a certain radius or a certain radius of people near those that's infected. I think they're asking people, I don't think they really hit the hammer down, but if Wuhan, China is anything similar to what may go down here, we may see some draconian measures. You know, we may see people with the guns making sure you don't leave your crib and all types of stuff. So you want to stock up on food. My whole cabinet right now look like it's made, like it's sponsored by Goya. You know what I mean? Get your beans, your rice, whatever you want, your snacks, get everything. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, when you're preparing with the quarantine, you know, you may have to fall back for a minute, get mad water, get everything you need. Over-the-counter medicines, like I said, all of that, toilet paper. You know, y'all smart, y'all know what to do. But it may get, you know, it may get funky. If it don't get funky, cool. And you just got a whole lot of food that you're gonna eventually eat anyway. A whole lot of butt wipage that you eventually gonna wipe anyway. You know what I'm saying? But you wanna stock up for you, your peoples, your family, and what have you, right? Okay, now I do want to talk about, since I'm in New York, so this is to all the New York folk, you know, mainly like 5 borough people, you know, since I'm here with y'all or whatever. And I think we have a unique situation because we're a densely populated place, and we have what's called the public transport system, the trains, buses too, but in particularly the trains. Now, in my personal opinion, this thing done already circulated all through the transit system, and it's all over the place. Like I said, they weren't testing like that here. I suspect New York City is already in the hundreds of thousands of infected people. However, if 80-something% of them, it don't get serious, we'll never know, or we'll never really have to know. But each of those people are infectious, meaning that they can potentially infect other people. We talking to schools, we talking all over the place. Now, what will be an indicator of that, I personally believe, is if we start seeing a body count jumping up. As of this video, I think there's a couple people in New York, elderly, that they say are in critical condition, stuff like that. But if we see like a real spike in people dying, or, you know, we might see people that die before even finding out that they had this, and then they check the body or the person that passed away and find out they died of this, and that's how they confirm it as a case. You know what I'm saying? But we really got to be careful. And I'm talking about the quarantines may hit us hard because we're so densely populated. So if this thing is running rampant as people say it is, New York itself is a beast. You know what I'm saying? Because with so many of us. So who knows how crazy they may go with the preventive measures. So to all my people out here, you really want to hold it down. I want to say this to all y'all that stay in apartments such as myself. If not now, very soon, start politicking with your people in your building if you don't already. You know what I'm saying? Figure out where the elderly people, what floor, what apartments they're in. Start talking and helping each other out. Now, personally, if you're trying to like isolate yourself and keep away from people, get a network going. Start getting phone numbers or something, FaceTimes on the video, whatever you need, so you can communicate with those that's in your building, especially if you're, you know, a stronger person that could really help the more vulnerable out. Start politicking, you know what I'm saying? So you can make sure that they're good. Protect somebody's mother or father or grandmother or grandfather. And if your grandmother, mother, grandfather, father, or whatever is in another building, you're going to want them to hold them down. You know what I'm saying? So whoever's in your cipher, hold them down as best as you can. And it's going to better help you hold yourself down. When I get in the elevator in this building, I take this spray. I don't just spray the number of the floor I hit. I spray all the numbers to disinfect it. The little handrail, I never touch them joints anyway. But I take this spray and I spray the handrail, so other people that get in the elevator can be better protected. You know what I'm saying? This is it's going to take a community effort. It's not one of the things you could be selfish with, because the more you think of making sure other people aren't infectious and are good, that's going to keep them from being infective, to eventually lessen the overall infectiveness of your whole surroundings. That made sense. You know what I mean, if it didn't sound right. So, you know, for all of us that's in these cramped places, these buildings, we got to start helping each other if haven't done it already. You know what I mean? We're going to get to this Twilight Zone twist real soon. I'm telling you, I'm almost at the end of these notes. Let's see. Okay. Oh yeah. Don't let the media rock you to sleep. They're giving the sugar-coated, don't panic kind of story. Now, by and large, a lot of people, what people are saying, it may very well be true. You know, the 80% will be cool, mild symptoms, but it's the 20% that we got to worry about, stuff like that. But I mean, they rocking people to sleep. They saying that this thing lasts on surfaces 2 hours. Not true. It could last up to 9 days. Don't let people just tell you this is just the flu. It may not necessarily be that. However, we're getting to the Twilight Zone twist where I'm actually going to entertain that anyway. But long story short, do the knowledge yourself. Check out the people who I put in the description who do videos like on the daily or semi or, you know, routinely on this situation. Get well informed. Share this video to other people. You know what I'm saying? Take notes if you haven't done so already. Look at the thing, you know, for yourself. When people are trying to leak info out, there's a lot of fake news, a lot of false stuff, a lot of sensationalism and stuff like that. Use discernment. If you see somebody in a video of somebody just falling down with a mask on, and then you see the people in the lab suits coming to scoop them up or something, use discernment and judge for yourself if you think that's a hoax, or if it's as bad as it looks, or it's somewhere in the middle, or if it's unknown. You know what I'm saying? Don't fall for anything on both ends of the spectrum. From the speculative conspiracy theory, don't just believe anything. Or from the official thing you're getting from government officials, state officials, and the media, don't just believe anything. Or the media that tries to hype this up to make it sound like something to get you like really afraid. Don't let that, don't let it rock you to sleep, but also don't let it make you lose any sleep as well. You know what I'm saying? It's not the time for fear, it's the time to be prepared. Okay, let's go to this Twilight Zone twist. I got 2 Twilight Zone twists for y'all, right? Twilight Zone twist number 1. And since we're on the subject of the conspiracies, we're going to close it out with this, right? There are some people that suspect that this thing is a hoax, at least in part or altogether. I don't know if I believe like Italy. As you may understand, there, northern Italy is under quarantine, China under quarantine, millions of people quarantined. I don't know if I totally believe it's a hoax that people are going to do that for all that. But some people believe that a lot of these countries are in league with each other, including people in the U.S., and they're in league to want to crash the economy and make believe like this is worse than the flu, just to get everyone riled up and everything for whatever their take over the world agenda is. I'm not saying that's not what it is, but at the same time, again, it goes to that discernment. It's something worth looking into, but use discernment. Now, one interesting thing you could do, which some people have been saying, is if you know people that have caught this, and unfortunately anyone that has died from this, share that information to other people. Leave it in the comments if you know someone that really caught this or really died from it or is in the hospital or whatever. Word of mouth, I think, is still the best promotional tool, better than the internet. It withstands the test of time. You know what I'm saying? Internet, you get a whole bunch of bogus news. Word of mouth, on hand type of stuff, you're more likely to get the real deal or whatever, right? So that is something to think about. You know, if by and large none of us know people that really caught the real bad end of this, then hey, is it a hoax? In part, it very well may be. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Similar symptoms to the flu, but you know, the flu kills 36,000. This only so far killed this many people and all that. But I don't know. Personally, I doubt it's a hoax in completion. Are there elements of this that could be sensationalized, thus in a hoax in part? Possibly. Discernment. It all comes down to discernment. And the last Twilight Zone twist I got you is back as another conspiracy one for y'all. And that one is that the good old melanated black folks are either immune to this or highly resistant due to the melanin of this having bad, negative, adverse effects, or in some cases, even infecting or affecting your black butt altogether. And I gotta say that when you look up when you look it up, because I looked it up online to see if I could debunk it, people are saying no, there is no way that being black or having a higher level of melanin is going to make you more resilient to this. You'll be just as susceptible and you could catch it as well. That's what they're saying. But I have not found any concrete proof of that. All I'm hearing is what the experts say. Again, don't let them rock you to sleep, because on the real, if black folk were immune or highly resistant to this, I highly doubt. I think the media and society at large will try to hide that reality from us as best as they possibly can to the last minute. You know what I'm saying? So maybe y'all can help me out, and y'all that know people with the cases and everything, and any of the identities come out, share some information. Let's see, are there black folks? And if they are black folks, are they like me? Are they light skinned? If this is true, it's probably a coin toss on if it would help me out. It might help me out half as much. It might not help me out at all. It might help me out completely. I don't know. So we want to find some real melanated dark folk we don't want to find dark folk that have this, but you know what I mean, to prove whether or not this is true or not. But let's look at the map, though. Look at all these places. Africa. We see little spots of people. What's this right here? Algeria, 20 people. Now y'all know there's white folk, there's light folk, there's South Africa, a lot of light-skinned people, a lot of white folk in there. We don't have that many. 55 in Egypt. Egypt got a whole bunch of white people. They try to say Egyptians are white right now. They done been whitewashed Egypt. You know what I'm saying? You just got little spots. And Africa is the largest continent in the world. Peter projection map. That's what you need. You deal with this map, they try to make it small. They try to minimalize it. But Africa is the largest body mass on Earth. And you're only seeing low amounts. Another one, India, which kind of borders China. They don't have that many cases either. Is this India right here? Yep, sure is. Look at this. 43. Now, Indians are, racially, they're something different, but they are melanated. They are a darker hued people. Now, one could say, well, it could just be due to the climate. Africa's hot. India, I believe, is hot. But what about Iran? And that's why maybe someone can help me out. Is Iran a hot climate area? If it is, then, hey, they got that shit running through them. Also in India, and I'm not even trying to sound foul, but it's alleged anyway that their hygienic levels are a little, let's just say different, to the point where you would think this thing would run rampant. It hasn't run rampant, or at least they haven't reported it running rampant. All these countries in Africa, and look, everywhere around it is bubbling. Look at it, it's bubbling all over the place. North America, bubbling. South America, starting to bubble. A lot of dark folk in South America too, to be honest. However, near the equator, it is also a warmer climate. So yeah, maybe someone can help me out. I might just look it up. Iran. Is Iran a hot climate area? You know what I'm saying? But that's the theory. I did see one brother, a young dude, very dark-hued young man that allegedly caught this and recovered. And then some people, as part of the conspiracy or the theory, are saying, yeah, he recovered so well because he was so dark and melanated. However, remember, this dude was like 22 years old. So, he was also very young. So it may not be due to that. But at the same time, he still caught it, allegedly. Because if they are trying to hide this and melanated people are resilient and practically immune to this, I could easily see them trying to set up and get like a real dark brother to front like he has it, just, to get people's morale down. Like, no, y'all could catch it too. Lo and behold, your dark, heavily hued behind ain't got to worry about this thing one bit. You know what I'm saying? So, though, that's my Twilight Zone twist for y'all, are these two suspected theories and I guess conspiracies. And the interesting thing is that for neither one of them am I going to snope it. I can't snope either one of them. I find it interesting, especially the second one. We need to start seeing some of the faces of, these people that are catching this. So, how long have I been on this thing? I'm dropping it as a premiere. All right. Nearly an hour and a half. So, yeah, if you stuck with me all the way to the Twilight Zone twist, you get a gold star. Shout out to you. Do follow the links below that I put. You want to donate to a brother, you got it. Thing right there. But, I mean, it's all about y'all and y'all family and getting y'all resources and stuff that y'all get together as well. But I ain't gonna front, I do gotta like stock up on some things, so it is what it is. But yeah, thanks for rocking with me. Do follow these people below, hit the links, get informed. If you took notes, share them notes with people, share the video with people, share the links in the chat in the description area with people and everything like that. So on that note, good people, stay safe, don't be scared, be prepared. Everything gonna be alright. On some real stuff. Again, closing thoughts. The death rate they're saying is like 3.4, but consider there's probably so many people that are getting a mild version of this, where the actual death rate may be like point something or less than 1%, because it's so many people have it but have mild symptoms. If indeed 80-something% have the mild symptoms. However, the bulk of the cases are coming from the China numbers, which I don't trust. So we got to look at numbers outside of China. You know what I'm saying? Look at the US, look at South Korea. Italy is looking funny style because, they just looking bad there. Iran is kind of looking bad. But, you got other places where it's not looking that bad. You know what I'm saying? America, United States, we have to really up these testing. South Korea, as I understand, they have drive-through tests and all that. They are the model of how we should be all, as countries and places and everything, be, approaching this thing. But, again, at the end of the day, if you're healthy, probably be good money. Yeah. Well, Jerry Springer status. Take care of yourself and each other. Real talk. Catch y'all later.